Hey, tribe, welcome back. If this is your first time here, come on in. Press the like button, take your shoes off, and get comfortable. We've got some things to talk about.
Will never get to see, never get to know, never experience the woman that she was becoming. She had so much life. They talked about her joy, how she made people laugh. And remember, she did all of that and had all of this impact while she was going through all of this. So imagine what she would have become. Imagine who she was becoming and how she would have changed the world. And although she...
This is the plea deal that Stephan Sterns has reached in the Madeline Soto case. He did make a plea deal today, and he was sentenced to multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole, an additional 25 years. So he pled no contest for the murder, and he pled guilty for the sexual battery. Well, of course, we know he had to plead guilty to the sexual battery because of all of the photo evidence that was found. If there were some form of photo evidence that was found or something that could show him in the commission of the murder, then naturally, of course, he'd have to say that he was guilty for that, but instead he pled no contest to the murder. So he begins to serve his sentence out today, and there were family that stood up and spoke and gave their statements, which is sad because Jen Soto, Madeline's mom, said not a single word. She didn't get up and make an impact statement, nor did she have anyone read one for her. I didn't even see her there. I'm not saying that she wasn't there. I'm just saying I didn't see her there. But Madeline's father got up and made an impact statement, as well as several other people did.
Not here with us, she is absolutely changing the world because we all know her name. We all will remember all of the things people have said, and we will never forget her face.
That's right. Well said.
That's very beautiful that the way she spoke of her. When you listen to the impact statements of relatives of Maddie, and I think a couple of people got up that were not direct blood relatives of her, but were affiliated with the family in some form. The way they spoke of this girl, this newly turned 13-year-old girl, the light they say that she had, the way they speak so highly of her and how she impacted their lives in such a positive way. How talented she was of a singer, how inquisitive she was, and how much she inspired them. And all of the beautiful things that they said of her. And it makes you saddened by the fact that her life was cut so short. Because anyone that could make that kind of impact on everyone that they come across was going to definitely change the world, if not impact it in a major, major way. And so though I've never met Maddie, I mourn the loss of what she could have brought to our world. I mourn that loss.
After this hearing,
I don't see Jennifer there at all. Do you?
I did not. Nope.
I don't see her anywhere.
She's nowhere there. My associate producer is saying he believes.
Well, this case, Soto's mom arrived at the 13-year-old school to pick her up in February. This is February 2024, when the school told her Madeline never made it that morning. Sterns, who was dating Soto's mom, was the last person to see the teen, and he was supposed to drop her off at school that morning. Sterns was arrested later that month in connection with Madeline's disappearance. Her remains were then found in the woods in Kissimmee in early March of 2024.
So the trial for the sexual abuse of Maddie, that was supposed to start tomorrow. So presumably that's why he put in the plea today. And the good part about that is that the parents don't have to, like, her loved ones don't have to be subject to seeing all of those pictures and all of the evidence that they have during the trial for the sexual assault. Because, they had all those pictures and, like, a whole lot of stuff. Like, a lot. And, the prosecution's going to have to would have had to go through all of that, like every single bit of evidence in that trial, which would have began like tomorrow, literally like tomorrow for the sexual stuff. And since he put in the plea today, then that pretty much stops everything. And so they're not going to have to see all of that. I think the downside for me is, yes, he does have he's been sentenced and he's put in his plea and all of that stuff. But the downside for these plea agreements to me is there's still a lack of closure. They don't have to say, okay, so exactly what happened, and then make an account of from A to B to C, then this and after, and then next. And, they don't have to say any of that. And I think as a parent or a loved one, I think that there is no closure because you have still so many questions. What happened? What did happen? I know that you can go off of the autopsy report and, make conclusions, but there are still questions. What was up with the coin? That was like it was for new parents. What was up with that? Was she actually was she really pregnant? Well, then if you didn't do it, then who did? Like, what was Jen Soto doing when you were doing whatever in her room? And, there are just so many questions. Jen Soto wasn't there. Now they did say that she attended virtually. And, I guess I can understand that because so many of us have feelings about the way she behaved during this entire thing. And we saw the interrogation and, we just have a lot of thoughts and feelings about her regarding her behavior around this thing and what she did do and what she didn't do and what she's not being made to answer for, it seems like at this point. And so I guess considering that, maybe that's why she decided not to go in person and she went virtually. So as far as as far as what's being reported, that she attended virtually and not in person. But even in that, I'm sure she should have had the option to either give an impact statement or have someone read an impact statement from her. And still, the fact that she said nothing, that silence from her is so incredibly loud, it says so much to me that she has just chosen not to say anything at all. So you have the loved ones of Maddie that are not getting the closure of knowing, everything or having all of their questions answered. So, there's the lack of closure there. Yes, you can feel okay knowing that he's going to be, Stephan Sterns going to be in prison for the rest of his life, and he's not going to get out, unless he manages to be smart enough to escape, but he's not smart at all. Dude is not smart. So chances of him escaping are very, very slim. Dude's going to be there until his last day. So I guess you can have closure because of that, but there's still the questions. The questions. And so when you consider these plea agreements that are being made, because, and I expect there'll be many more, because there are videos and cameras and Ring cameras and CCTV and, everyone's got one these days. And it's getting more and more difficult to get away with things. And so there's evidence, for anyone that commits a crime, there's gonna be some camera somewhere, whether it be a neighbor's camera or CCTV footage showing your car moving from this location in that direction at such and such time. Like, there is so much places that evidence can come from that, will basically tell on you. And so I predict that more and more cases will more than likely end in plea agreements. My problem with these plea agreements is there's still so many questions that these people are not being made to answer for. Same example with Bryan Kohberger and the Idaho 4. He made a plea agreement. Okay, yes, I'm guilty. He said, I'm guilty of all 4. Yes, I did this. Yes. Okay, guilty. But he didn't have to answer for who was the target, why, all of those questions that parents have, just the why. The lack of being able to understand and even having those questions answered, it's not going to bring your loved one back. Nothing's going to bring Maddie back, but there's still the lack of closure when it comes to having all of those questions answered. And I just don't understand how judges aren't making these people, yes, you submitted to a plea agreement, and all of the plea agreement does is stop the death penalty. So if you happen to be in a death penalty state, it happens to stop, okay, I put I make a plea agreement to basically make sure that I don't go to death row. Okay, well, we accept your plea agreement for that, but you still have to talk. I feel like they should still have to make them answer to things. Bryan Kohberger should have been made to answer for things. Chad Dorman, same thing, should have needed to been made to answer to things. Because there is still, okay, you go to jail for the rest of your life, but I still have questions. There's still a lack of closure when it comes to these plea agreements that are being reached, these plea deals that are being made. There's still a lack of closure. So I'm glad that he's going up for life. Because people like him don't need to be out here with normal people that have children. Listen to what this man actually had to say. He actually made a statement. He himself, Stephan Sterns, made a statement following the impact statements of the loved ones. He actually made a statement himself. And listen to this.
I agree that it's not fair that Madeline is not here anymore. I still have a hard time contemplating a world where she's not around, a world which feels less vibrant and less colorful than it did before. I've prayed to God countless times to trade places with her, to take me instead. But unfortunately, that's just not how he works. I have nothing but sorrow for her loss, and I miss her all the time. Her passing has torn me and my family apart as well, and she truly was a joy. I pray to God that she is in heaven and that he's taking good care of her. And I hope she gets to join the choir because she had a beautiful voice. I will miss her all the time. I will never not honor her memory. And I apologize for all the pain.
That's all this man had to say. Now, initially listening to that, I had some feelings because it seemed as though he was speaking in reference to how she made him feel, how he's processing the loss of Maddie. It seems to me as though nothing he said was really related to how his actions impacted the family, her loved ones, her friends and classmates. He didn't care about any of that, about their loss, about how this world will not reap any benefits of the impact she would have made. No, he only thought about how he's going to miss her, how much it hurts him. And because it hurts him so much, he wishes that God can take him instead of Maddie. It seems as though he's living in a thing where, like a world where he misses her so much. And some of those phone calls from jail, I listened to a few of those phone calls, and when he speaks of her, it's just as disgusting, because it's as though he was in love with this little girl, with this child that he's been, abusing since she was about 8 years old. And he's a grown-ass man. And he's been taking pictures of her in these ways since she was 8. And the idea that she was doing You know, she was just trying to live. Her friends thought of her as sweet. Her relatives loved her so much, and she was living with this secret. None of them knew about. She had to live and function in her life, in her world for years with this secret. And all he can think about is how he misses her. It's as though he loves her. He was in love with her. He doesn't even speak kindly at all about Jen, about Maddie's mom. He doesn't really speak kindly of her. But he was in love with this child. Listening to those jail calls when he's speaking to his father about Maddie, or he's speaking to his parents about her, because according to the jail calls, no one else speaks to him except for his parents. Those are the only calls that were available, were between him and his parents. So when he speaks with them about Maddie, it's as though he's in love with her. And he's praying to get visited by her, or to see her in his dreams, and things like that. He doesn't deserve to see her. She shouldn't even haunt him, which y'all know me. I'm the main person. I'm like, if anybody kills me, I'm haunting the hell out of them. But somebody like this man here, he doesn't deserve to be haunted by her. I wouldn't. He doesn't deserve to see her face. He doesn't deserve to even have the slightest memories of her. And that's how he should die. How he should live the rest of his life until his last day. The void of her. This statement of his, he could have kept it. And I presume that's why Maddie's father just walked out. And they were trying to see if he had something to say. And the press couldn't get him to speak. Presumably because he was pissed off about this shit. I mean, what is this? And I'm sorry for the pain. I mean, I'm sorry for the pain. What about you're sorry for the pain you caused? You caused this. How about I'm sorry for the pain that I've caused you? How about turning around and looking at them in their face and addressing them directly? This is a whole nother, I don't know. I'm all for justice and stuff, and I don't feel like we're getting it. Some people just need to go to death row. Fuck a plea. Chad Doberman should have been on death row. Should have just went to death row. Same thing with Brian Koberger. Should have just went to death row. They shouldn't be allowed to plea out. They shouldn't be allowed to given the heinousness of the crimes they committed. And so I understand their loved ones and their parents still being upset. That, I mean, you say, oh, let's give them closure and hopefully the healing can begin with this plea deal. No. Healing's not going to begin until my questions are answered, until I know why. Why? That's the number one question that people have following something like this. The need to understand why. And in just these 3 cases alone, that's the one thing that was not answered. It's the one thing that wasn't given, the one piece of comfort that these parents won't get. And the part of the justice system that pisses me off is the fact that they're not being made to give those answers as to the why. Help me understand the why. Why? I've heard of someone asking a question, why, as they were being ended. Why? Even they want to understand the why. And these people get to go in and offer a plea deal and just say, yeah, I plead guilty. Yeah, I plead no contest to the murder, but I'll plead guilty to the stuff you already have all the evidence for. Yes, you've got 50,000 pictures of me and my birthmark doing obscene things to a child. Yes, you've got all of that. So I'll just go ahead and plead guilty because, yeah, I'm guilty on that. Yeah, okay. I'm guilty. You ain't got no pictures on me, though, committing murder, so no contest on that. If he had have gone to trial, he still would have been found guilty. And we could have gotten a death row. The only thing his plea deal does is keep the parents and the loved ones from having to sit through all of that evidence, all of those pictures, and the video camera showing him driving the car with Madeline in the front seat, appearing to be asleep? ? Yeah, so his plea deal keeps them from having to sit through all of that, even though they're already aware that it exists. Even though some of it they've probably already seen anyway. But yeah, okay, so he submitted a plea deal and they don't all have to sit through all of that. It still doesn't answer the question as to why. And the fact that these judges aren't making them have to answer that question. Well, I have feelings about that. And they're not good ones.
What do they make of Sterns' statement in court, his apology?
An apology? I mean, I can't speak for them. I can tell you that I thought it was disgusting.
Exactly.
I did not take that as an apology. I took that as he misses her. For whatever motive or reason he misses her.
Yeah.
And I was disgusted by it.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not speaking for them when I say.
Dear sweet Maddie, today your family puts a closure onto your homegoing and the way you left this world. I'm so sorry that you didn't have a better life here, that life wasn't kinder to you, that this world and the adults in your world, all of them were not kinder to you. I feel saddened by that fact that you were able to contribute so much to beauty and kindness to those that loved you, but you didn't get the opportunity to experience all of the great things in this world and having pure and earnest love in your life. I'm so sorry. But we release you. We release your spirit from the hold that we've had on you. We release you. And we're finding a way to let you go now.